Good morning, students. Are you all ready for the class? 11 to 12. What was your previous class? I think you'll have Tamil, isn't it? Okay, now we'll have started the English continuation of the supplementary lesson where we stopped the other day. You'll read the supplementary lesson. So the tempest was as far as I stopped. You'll follow the lesson, you'll understand the story, the play. And just imagine yourselves as if you are watching this play Tempest. The story comes to the point where you find Miranda is coming across Ferdinand. Ferdinand and Miranda are meeting each other. And this was all the plan done by a father, Prospero. He sends out Ariel, the spirit, to allow Ferdinand to meet Miranda and keep himself invisible. So what does Ariel does? Ariel goes, creates a storm, makes all of them get separated from each other. That is Ferdinand, his father, that is the king of Naples, and Antonio, all were coming towards the island on the huge ship. Ariel is creating a big storm, and that storm tosses the ship up and down, and thus what happens? Ariel goes there and he separates all of them, and he makes Ferdinand jump into the sea, and here the father thinks Ferdinand is dead. Now Ferdinand is being led by Ariel, and he comes towards Miranda. Miranda, upon meeting Ferdinand, she was so much taken up by Ferdinand's good looks, and even Ferdinand, admiring this young and beautiful damsel, falls in love with her. So Prospero, meanwhile, he remains invisible, though he listens to the conversation that takes place between Ferdinand and Miranda. He remains invisible. He doesn't show himself to Ferdinand. He can only hear his voice. Now Prospero gets Ariel to lead Ferdinand across the island so that he meets Miranda. They both fall in love with each other. As planned, Ferdinand comes across Miranda and they fall in love and decide to, and a small conversation takes place between themselves. Each one of them introduce about each one of them. She is saying who is she, how she is living the old father here. At the same time, even Ferdinand is trying to introduce himself, saying that he is the son of the king of Naples. Now Prospero warns Miranda. They're seeing this Ferdinand and Miranda talking to each other, and they're almost falling in love with each other. Prospero, he wants this relationship to develop, but at the same time he's trying to caution his daughter. He's saying, don't get taken up by this fellow's good looks and all. He may try to desert you or ditch you or cheat you, so don't get taken up by this fellow's looks. And Prospero is warning Miranda to keep away from this young man, but Miranda so much fall in love with this young man, she doesn't want to leave him. Then what happens? Just to see how loyal Ferdinand is towards Miranda, Prospero is trying to act little rude, little rash towards Ferdinand. So what he does, he's just to test his loyalty towards his daughter, to test his worth, he's making Ferdinand to do some menial jobs like carrying wood, carrying some water for him, and doing some hard work for him, and trying to be little rude to him. And Ferdinand immediately he agrees. He is listening to what Prospero is saying, and is doing the work given to him by Prospero. And as Ferdinand carries out this odd jobs given by Prospero, Miranda is feeling sorry for Ferdinand. So she is saying, my father's gone to sleep inside, he is not here. Meanwhile, you take rest. How long will you work? seeing Ferdinand working so hard, she's feeling sorry for him, and she's asking him, "You take rest for a little while, as long as my father comes out, till at present he's sleeping inside the cave. So when still is coming out, you take little rest." But Ferdinand is saying, no, I find happiness in doing the job given to me by your father. So he finds his labor, he finds his work a little pleasant because of Miranda, because he wants to win Miranda's heart. So Miranda, thinking that her father is asleep, tells Ferdinand to take a break, take some rest. But she is saying, no, for me it's not a big job, I will do it. And meanwhile, here, Prospero actually is not asleep. He's just acting as if he is sleeping, and he's almost invisible. Prospero can't see, Ferdinand cannot see him. So he's listening to the conversation which is taking place between Ferdinand and Miranda. And he's happy to see the development in these people's relationship, that the love is increasing more and more. But still he wants to test how loyal this young man is towards his daughter. Meanwhile, the other end, the way Ferdinand is brought separately towards Miranda, in the same way, what Ariel does, he also separates the King of Naples and Antonio also in two different groups, two different places. And these people are thinking each one has lost each other. Ferdinand is thinking he has lost his father, and the King of Naples is thinking he's lost his son. At the same time, even Antonio is no more. So each one is thinking that all are perished in the tempest, in that shipwreck. So the rest of the shipwreck crew are grieving for their loss. They're thinking all are lost, and all are feeling grieving, or they're crying for, mourning for each one's loss. The search for Ferdinand goes on in vain, but Antonio, the King of Naples, fear that Ferdinand is drowned. He is no more. Then meanwhile, even Gonzalo, who's Gonzalo? I'll remember who's Gonzalo. Gonzalo is the person who helped Prospero in the 12 years back by helping him with the books and little provision that was put in the boat. And this Gonzalo also is thinking this all maybe because of the way Antonio troubled Prospero many years ago, because Antonio ill-treated his elder brother, that is Prospero. Today he is suffering like this. So Gonzalo and others think that the spellbound men are suffering from the guilt of the past, cruelty they did to their brother. So because of the cruelty, these people are suffering now, and he is trying to Gonzalo is coming forward and telling it's all because of the way you troubled your brothers many years ago. Today you are suffering like this. He's reminding his master, that is Antonio. Meanwhile, what happens? Ariel still wants to trouble these people. What he does is bringing the King of Naples and bringing Antonio, and he's saying, you are very hungry and tired, come, I'll give you some dinner. So he's arranging a beautiful banquet, that is nice food on the table for these people to eat, and the food is so delicious, and these people are so much filled with hunger. They're craving for food. So as they come to eat the food, what happened? Ariel is a spirit, is invisible. Suddenly when they come about to eat the food on the table is completely disappeared. So in this way he is tormenting them, he is torturing them of hunger. So in this way he is troubling them little by little, and slowly Ariel is coming and giving all the information what is happening the other side, how Antonio and the King of Naples are being kept in hiding. So Ariel leads the lords, so then slowly Prospero is saying, bring them and come to me. Bring them and come, and I will see to it. So Ariel leads the lords towards Prospero, and as soon as they see Prospero, they are just shocked. They are saying, this brother of mine, is he still alive? Maybe after so many years, Prospero has become so old and haggard, with all his hair grown, his beard grown. He's looking so harsh, so rude is looking, crude and rude is looking. And here Antonio recognizes his brother and is left in a trance. Trance means what? He is shocked to see his brother alive. So, but what happened? Everything ends up towards the end. You find the story, even though Prospero is trying to recollect all the past, what has happened, the way his brother tortured him, the way he was made to fend his way with his life with his daughter on this remote island in this cave, or so much of harsh life would have led. Still Prospero, he could have taken revenge on this Antonio, but he wanted to forget all that as a past incident. So he is bringing back all the past memories, what all has happened, and Prospero grants that Prospero is trying to forgive Antonio, and both the brothers are meeting each other, they're embracing each other, but still Antonio is feeling bad because the king of Naples' son is missing, Ferdinand, and slowly Prospero is opening the entrance, opening the doorway. Miranda and Prospero are seated and busy playing some chess game. So soon as Antonio and the king of Naples see their son, his son sitting there with Miranda, they are so much filled with happiness. They see that his son is still alive, and everything ends up in a happy tone. As the play ends in a very happy tone. The brothers are forgiving each other, and they make up for all that whatever they lost. And Antonio is asking for forgiveness, and he's saying, "You please come back to the throne. You please come back to the dukedom, and again you become the Duke of Milan. Become the Duke of Milan." And Prospero is telling, "Now you all carry on. We will," and is requesting Ariel to see that the weather is completely safe and sound, so for them to reach back to their own country. So he's bringing this. He's telling Ariel, "Let the sea be in full peace and calmness for them to travel back to their own country." And thus Antonio, the king of Naples, they all leave, and Prospero is saying, "You'll carry on now. Tomorrow morning I will bring Miranda and come along with me." So all of them, in the end, they reach back to their own country, and on reaching there, the story ends up, the play ends in a very nice, peaceful manner. Everything is come back to normalcy, and thus the story ends with a very happy tone by Miranda and Ferdinand getting married. So let's continue the reading where we stopped yesterday. So here where we stopped, Miranda is seeing her father giving all harsh work to Ferdinand. Come to page number 23 towards the third last paragraph. Miranda hung upon her father, saying, "Why are you so ungentle? Have pity, sir. I'll be his surety. This is the second man I ever saw, and to me he seems a true one." The father is saying, "You don't try to support him. This fellow is come here to spy, but I will not allow you to get cheated by some unknown person." So his father, actually Prospero is aware that Miranda is in love with this young man, and is just trying to act as if he is rude to Ferdinand. "Silence," said the father. "One word more will make me chide you, girl. What? An advocate for an impostor? You think there are no more such fine man, having seen only him and Caliban?" This he said to prove his daughter's constancy, and she replied, "My affections are more humble. I have no wish to see a goodlier man than this fellow." She is saying, "I know he is the only man whom I will carry on my life with. So I can never find another man better than this fellow. I want to marry this man." "Come on, young man," said Prospero to the prince. "You have no power to disobey me." Prospero had commanded Ferdinand to pile up some heavy logs of wood. King's son not much being much used to laborious work, Miranda soon found almost dying with fatigue. "Alas," said she, "do not work so hard. My father is at his studies. He is safe for these 3 hours. Pray, rest yourself. So what? Seeing this Ferdinand working so hard, the work given by Prospero, and meanwhile Miranda is coming, feeling sorry for this 49. She's saying, "So my father's busy in the study, in his study. Study means in his room where he is taking rest. So for another 3 hours he won't come. So meanwhile you take a break and take some rest." For that, what Ferdinand is replying, "Oh my dear lady," said Ferdinand, "I dare not. I must finish my task before I take my rest." So he is saying, don't worry, before your father comes, I must finish my task. Task means what? The work given to me. I have to finish it. "If you will sit down," said Miranda, "I will carry your logs the while." But this Ferdinand would by no means agree to. So she's saying, "I'll help you. You take a rest a little while. I will do so. I will carry the log. Logs means the huge wood pieces that he is asked to carry. So I will carry it for you. So you take some rest," she is telling him. Meanwhile, Prospero, who had enjoined Ferdinand this task merely as a trial of his love, was not at his books, as his daughters supposed, but was standing by them invisible to overhear what they said. So meanwhile, Prospero was invisible. He was actually standing there just close to these people, where these two people are having a conversation. Who? Ferdinand and Miranda. And here Prospero was standing just close to them, but he was completely invisible. He was just listening to the talk what these two people were having. Ferdinand inquired her name, which she told, saying it was against her father's express command she did so. So slowly, as they are talking, Ferdinand is asking, what is her name? For that she said, "My father is against me telling my name to anyone, but I will tell you my name." And then Ferdinand, in a fine long speech, told the innocent Miranda he was heir to the crown of Naples, and that she should be his queen. So after Miranda told him her name, then Ferdinand is telling all about himself. He is saying he is the prince of the country from where he has come from, the crown of Naples. From Naples is come. He is supposed to be the next heir to the throne. So I am I'm going to be the next king for that kingdom of Naples, and he very much he wants to marry this pretty young girl, that is Miranda, and wants to make her his queen. Prospero then appeared before them. "Fear nothing, my child," said he. "I have overheard and approve of all you have said. And Ferdinand, if I have too severely used you, I will make you rich amends by giving you my daughter. All your vexations were but trials of your love, and you have nobly stood the test. Then as my gift, take my daughter." So here Prospero, he showed himself to Ferdinand, is saying, "So all this time what I gave you, what work I gave you, it is just to see test your loyalty. I want to see whether you really love my daughter." And only when he told that he is going to make her the queen of Naples, I am accepting you to be my son-in-law. I am prepared to give my daughter as a queen to you. You can take her as a gift from me to be your queen. So what all vexations, what I had, vexation means the real few hours back I was rude to you. I was very cruel to you. I made you do all that hard work. But that is all just to test you. I just wanted to see whether you really loved my daughter. So at last he agrees for this relationship, and he gives his daughter as a gift to this young man. When Prospero left them, he called his spirit Ariel, who quickly appeared before him, eager to relate what he had done with Prospero's brother and the king of Naples. So meanwhile, he left these two young people to spend some more time with each other, and he went and approached Ariel and asked Ariel what happened to the other people. Who are the other people? That is his brother Antonio and the king of Naples. What happened to them? What he has done with them. So he's inquiring about what he has done with these other crew members of the ship. Prospero's brother and the king of Naples. Ariel said that he had left them almost out of their senses with fear, and the strange things he had caused them to see and hear. When fatigued with wandering about and famished for want of food, he had suddenly set before them a delicious banquet. And then, just as they were going to eat, he appeared visible before them in the shape of a harpy, a voracious moisture with wings, and the feast vanished away. Then, to their utter amazement, this seeming harpy spoke to them, reminding them of the cruelty in driving Prospero from his dukedom and leaving him and his infant daughter to perish in the sea, saying that for this cause these terrors were suffered to afflict them. So here the Ariel's telling the way he tortured them, the way he tormented them. He made them feel that the way Prospero was treated many years ago. He made his brother realize, that is, Ariel made Antonio realize the way he troubled his brother many years ago. So he made them get fatigued, tired and hungry. He laid a huge dinner for them, nice, delicious food for them. And at the time of coming to eat the food, he made the food to get vanished. Vanish means disappear. So they completely filled with hunger and they filled with tiredness. So this moment, Antonio realized how much he had troubled his brother many years ago. The king of Naples and Antonio, the false brother, repented the injustice they had done to Prospero. So all the flashback is coming back to their mind. They are just sitting and thinking how they troubled Prospero many years ago, how he would have felt, and at that time they are only thinking about the ill effects, the wrong what they had done to Prospero, the injustice what they had done to Prospero. Then at last, after listening to what Ariel had to say, Prospero is ordering Ariel to go and bring them to him. That is, bring Antonio and the king of Naples to him. Then bring them here, Ariel, said Prospero. Ariel soon returned with the king, Antonio, and old Gonzalo. And Gonzalo is accompanying them. This Gonzalo was the same who had so kindly provided Prospero formerly with books and provisions when his wicked brother left him, as he thought, to perish in an open boat in the sea. So now see how these people are coming up to meet an unknown. They're thinking they're going to meet an unknown person. Only after coming there, they realize that was the same old Prospero whom they had thrown out of the country. Grief and terror had so stupid their senses, and they did not know Prospero. He first discovered himself to the good old Gonzalo, calling him the preserver of his life, and then his brother and the king knew that he was the injured Prospero. So on coming there, after Ariel goes and fetches them and brings them in front of Prospero, it took them some time for them to recognize each other, because so many years have passed by and Prospero had grown, his beard, his hair had grown long, but they immediately recognized Gonzalo who was a provider, who because of him they were able to survive on that ship 12 years, small boat 12 years ago. Antonio, with tears and sad words of sorrow and true repentance, implored his brother's forgiveness, and Prospero forgave them. And upon their engaging to restore his dukedom, he said to the king of Naples, I have a gift in store for you too. And opening a door, showed him his son Ferdinand playing chess with Miranda. So on meeting each other, Antonio was filled with tears. Seeing his brother Prospero, his eyes was filled with tears, and with sad words he said, he apologized for the wrong what he had done to his brother. He asked his brother's forgiveness, and Prospero immediately he forgave them. Immediately he forgave both Antonio as well as the king of Naples. And in that small conversation what they had, Antonio promised that he will restore back the dukedom, that is the throne. Restore means what? To give back. You come back to our country, I will give back the dukedom to you, and you can become the duke again to the kingdom of Milan. He said to the king of Naples, and meanwhile, even Prospero said, you had given me back my dukedom. At the same time, even I want to give you a surprise gift. Come, I'll give you some gift. So he's just opening the room of the way Ferdinand and Miranda were seated. Now these two are thinking that Ferdinand is dead. But soon as they saw Prospero taking them towards Ferdinand, Antonio and the King of Naples were just filled with happiness seeing the young prince alive. I have a gift in store for you too. And opening a door, showed him his son Ferdinand playing chess with Miranda. Nothing could exceed the joy of the father and the son at this unexpected meeting, for they each thought the other drowned in the storm. So what a moment, a happy moment it was for both the father and the son. Ferdinand is thinking his father is dead, and at the same time when the King of Naples is thinking his son is dead, the son Ferdinand is dead. And soon as they saw each other, they were filled with happiness. The King of Naples was almost as much astonished at the beauty and excellent graces of the young Miranda as his son had been. Who is this maid? Said he. She is the daughter to this Prospero, who is the famous Duke of Milan, of whose renown I have heard so much, but never saw him till now. Of him I have received a new life. He has made himself to me a second father, giving me this dear lady, said Ferdinand. So soon as the King of Naples saw this young beautiful woman, he is asking who is this young beautiful woman. For that Ferdinand is replying, this young woman is the daughter of this Prospero. Prospero, only I have heard about him. When we were in our country, I only heard about Prospero, how his younger brother sent him out of the country. I only heard about the goodness of Prospero, and only today I got a chance to meet him, and he happens to be my second father. He was the one who gave life to me. Otherwise, I would have died in this huge seas of that with the storm which occurred few days back. I would have died. But this Prospero saved me from that tempest, and he gave me a second life. And not only gave me a second life, he also gave me this young beautiful woman to be my queen. So I have received a new life. He has made himself to me a second father, giving me this dear lady, said Ferdinand. No more of that, said Prospero. Let us not remember our troubles past, since they so happily have ended. And then Prospero embraced his brother and again assured him of his forgiveness. So seeing to this happy ending, Prospero is telling, please don't talk what all has happened in the past. Whatever has happened, let us forget all the bitter experiences, the bad experiences what we went through. Let us forget about it. Let's not talk about what has happened. Let's think about what is going to happen. Now everything has come to a happy ending. So this play is giving a very beautiful happy ending by all of them rejoining back into a happy family. Prospero now told them that their ship was safe in the harbor, and the sailors all on board heard, and that he and his daughter would accompany them home the next morning. So Prospero said, your boat is safe, your boat is not broken. The ship which all came, it is not destroyed in the storm. The ship is safe in the harbor. You can all go back to your own country, and tomorrow morning I will come and join you all. So all of you will go and board the ship, is saying, and he and his daughter would accompany them the next morning. So before Prospero left the island, he dismissed Ariel from his service, to the great joy of the lively little spirit. So all these years, Ariel was a very loyal servant to this Prospero. What all Prospero made him to do, what all work he gave him to do, everything he did as a loyal servant. He remained a very honest person to this Prospero, and before leaving this island, Prospero is saying, no, he's thanking him for all the work what he had done for him, and is giving him a complete, he's dismissing him from the job. Is what? He's saying your work with me is over. Now you can take leave, he say. He dismissed Ariel from his service to the great joy of that lively little spirit. And thus the story ends by all these people going back to their own country, and what awaits for them the next. The next, maybe, what happened? What would have happened? Both Ferdinand and Miranda would have got married, and the play ends in a very happy tone. Everything ends happily. So the play ends happily, and this is the beautiful play written by William Shakespeare. The Tempest, which is written between in the year is 1610 and 1611. So this is a very beautiful play, and historians who witnessed this play, who saw this play, believe that this was one of the last plays of William Shakespeare. This is considered as one of the best and well-written plays written by Shakespeare. And this play, The Tempest, was based on an actual shipwreck, I told you, as I told you in the beginning of the story. A sea venture, the ship Sea Venture, which went off the Bermuda and was headed towards Virginia. So there is a strong evidence that Shakespeare used lots of elements. Elements of the story are the spirits which help the play to move on till the end. And that's the end of the story. The story ends up happily, and thus hope all of you understood the story, and you can just go through the full story once again, understand the lesson. You can even, if you open the YouTube, you can find The Tempest. Open the YouTube, log on to the Tempest play written by Shakespeare. You can even read the play in the story, and you can try to follow the lesson. Please read this lesson, understand the story, and I will be sending you all the summary the same way, the way I sent you all the poetry question answers and the prose question answers. Now next we will be doing a little bit of grammar, what is in the first lesson, that is the first flight. A little bit of grammar, the parts of speech is there. Parts of speech all of you have learned in your previous classes, the noun, the adjective, the adverb, how the words, those parts of speech, the words have to be changed from one part of speech to the other, from verb to noun, from noun to adjective, from adjective to adverb, how the words will change. So we will do that in the coming class, or after this small break. I will come to you live on the Zoom TV. So hope all of you understood the play. Please read the story and try to read the summary and follow the story to the play, The Tempest. Okay, children, all of you understood? And with this we finish the first unit. Prose, the first flight, poetry, the life, and supplementary, The Tempest. The first unit will be completing. One or two classes I'll be taking. We'll do the grammar exercises, and then by next week we will start the second unit. Second unit will be beginning the next week, that is next Wednesday or next Friday. We'll start with the second unit. When I'm doing the grammar lesson, please turn your books to the first lesson, that is the vocabulary part. Come to page number 6, the vocabulary part, the sentences. Read the sentences. You can see the set 1. Read the following sentences. The young seagull uttered a joyful scream. The young seagull screamed with joy. The young seagull screamed joyfully. See here, all the 3 sentences. The words joyful is underlined in the first sentence. The word joy is underlined in the second sentence. The third sentence, joyfully. But the sentences, the meanings are the same, only the way the words are written is written in a different tone, that different parts of speech, that is joyful. The word joyful is in an adjective. The word joyful is an adjective speech. The same way, the second one, the word joy. The seagull screamed with joy. The word joy is in the noun form. The third sentence, scream joyfully. How did the bird scream? joyfully. The word joyfully is, you can understand that how. The word how joyfully, it is an adverb. Understood? So the word joyful, adjective, the word joy, noun, and joyfully is adverb. The same way in the second set of sentence. The young bird pretended to be falling asleep. Pretended is what? Verb. It's doing an action. The verb pretended is doing an action. The same way, second sentence, the young bird made a pretension of falling asleep. The word pretension is what? Noun. Is in the noun form. The young bird made a pretentious posture of falling asleep. Pretentious is in the adjective form. So here you find how the words are changing. The meaning will remain the same, but only the meanings in the sentences will change. The verb form, the noun form, and adjective form. So in all the three sentences you find the set one, the adjective joyful is changed to its noun form joy, to its verb adverb joyfully. Joy is a noun, and joy, how did the bird make noise? Joyfully. So the word joyfully is in the adverb form. The same way in the second set, the verb pretend, verb, has been transformed to its noun form pretension, and to its adjective form pretentious. So from verb to noun, from noun to adjective, see how the words can be transformed. So we can transform a sentence by interchanging parts of speech without changing its meaning. The words will be interchanged, but the meaning of the sentences will not change. So there's a small exercise given to us here on page number 6. Open English readers to page number 6. You can find here a small exercise is given. Change the parts of speech of the given words in the chart. The noun section, you find the word exhaustion. Noun, what's the word? The noun form? Exhaustion. Now this noun can be changed in the verb form. Exhaustion. Noun is exhaustion. Verb, how it has to be changed? Exhaust. I was exhausted. Exhaust. Adjective, exhaustive. T-I-V-E. Verb will be exhaust. Adjective will be exhaustive. And adverb will be exhaustively. V-E-L-Y. Understood? Noun is exhaustion. Verb is exhaust. Adjective exhaustive. Adverb exhaustively. Second word, noun they are not given. They are given the word verb word, widen. The road was widened. That is the verb, action word, widen. So what will come in the noun form? Wide. Wide is in the adjective form. The word wide is in the adjective form. In the noun it will come as width. The width of the cloth. W-I-D-T-H, width. W-I-D-T-H, noun. Verb is widen. Adjective is wide. The road was wide. The cloth was wide. The way was wide. The same word in the adverb form, widely. We widely use guides to refer to answers. Widely means what? We widely use things for certain purpose. So here, width, noun, verb is widen, adjective is wide, and adverb is widely. Next word. They're given the adjective here, mad. Adjective is given in the word mad, adjective is given. So what should come in the noun? Madness. Madness for the word adjective. Adjective word mad. For noun word it is madness. For verb it is madden. Action word is what? Madden. M-A-D-D-E-N. Adverb, madly. He madly fell in love with her. Adverb, madly. Did you follow these words, children? The next one is, they're giving you the adverb, perfectly. You have perfectly done the work. How we did the work? Perfectly answered. Perfectly I gave the answer. That is adverb. So the same perfectly in the noun sense will come as perfection. The noun form it will be perfection. The verb it will be perfect. His work was perfect. Adjective also remains the same. Perfect. So here perfect verb and adjective, the word remains the same. Perfect. In noun it is perfection. Adverb it is perfectly. Okay. So all these words will follow the boxes. Exhaustion, exhaust, exhaustive, exhaustively. Widen verb, the noun form it is with. Adjective wide, adverb it is widely. Adjective next word mad. Noun verb of mad is madness. Verb is madden. Adverb is madly. Next word perfectly. Adverb perfectly. Noun perfection. Verb and adjective perfect. Then it has been followed by another exercise. Read the following sentences and change the form of the underlined words as directed. I think now time is up. We'll wind up here. Wednesday's class I will do this exercise. One more exercise is the exercise D. D and E. E is use the following words to construct meaningful sentences. With the words given, you have to make sentences of our own. Then listening we need not do. You can just do the exercise D and E on Wednesday. Okay, children. So try to brush up with this exercise. Parts of speech, that is verb, adjective, and noun. We shall wind up here, and 10 minutes we get into the Zoom. That is the live class. Okay, children. See you. Within 5 minutes we'll get into the live class, that is Zoom. Get to the Zoom app. We'll go into live class to see